Hey Callie, hope the move went well. Hi Adria, if you're watching. I bought my first ever jumpsuit yesterday, and it's super comfortable and it's really cute. It's got these like flowers and elephants on it. It's been a while since I filmed that opening because I got distracted and I started doing like these edits and making these character posters. But now I've got some cool Keiko O'Brien and Cassidy Yates character posters queued to post on Tumblr today and tomorrow, I think, is when I queued them for. Honestly, the women in Deep Space Nine, I just love all of them, and I wish we had more stories about them. I think Deep Space Nine is a great show in a lot of ways. I think that it failed its female characters a lot. I think did a great job with Kira, but we never really got enough Cassidy and Keiko, and I would have loved that. I think I made a post once where I was like, we need to have an episode that's like a Keiko, Cassidy, Garrick team up. It's like two amazing human women and this one weird lizard man working together to save the day. It'd be brilliant. Cassidy could have her own movie, honestly. She's so great. They should make a movie about her. That'd be so good. Or just at least a novel that's like just Cassidy being this badass freighter, captain, smuggler. She's like the entire series of Firefly distilled into a single character. I love her. It's not that I just spend all of my time thinking about Deep Space Nine, it's that I'm now required to spend a large bulk of my time thinking about Deep Space Nine because I'm writing a paper on Jake Sisko for my Black Childhoods class, which has required me to think a lot about Jake Sisko and his character as a writer, and as a character whose racial identity is important to him, and the Sisko family, the Sisko Yates, the presentation of race in Deep Space Nine versus other Star Treks. It's been great, actually. I've loved it. I feel like I have not felt this ready to write a paper ever. Like maybe that Manfred paper, but this is really working out for me. I love it. And oops, it is now a different day because I got distracted that day because Doctor Who came back and it was amazing and beautiful and I love Bill, the new companion. But right now I have to do some gardening because I got some plants on Saturday. And magically, it is yet another day. And apparently, whatever exposure stuff I have on this specific lens does not work well with fairy lights. So everything looks really fuzzy and white. This light in real life, it looks much more yellow. I don't know how to deal with that. I'm too tired. The weird switching in days constantly means that when this actually finally uploads, it's probably going to be really disconnected. There's like an actual word for this, but I can't quite remember what it is. It's nearly the end of the semester now, which means everything is like really kind of stressed and busy and but if you like, how's the best way to start this topic? I'm sure I've talked to you guys before about my own issues mentally speaking. That persuasion, this is sounding so bad. So a few weeks ago in one of my classes we had to write a manifesto, which is like, of writing assignments is a very frightening one because you're like, how do I even have anything worth talking about that I could put in a manifesto? And like, yeah, just what an assignment. Hilariously, everybody in the class ended up taking a very unique approach to this because none of us felt like we had anything like we had that kind of an authority over. So I wrote my manifesto, which I still plan on revising. But the day that it was due in class, our teacher wanted us to read them out loud, which I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Like, I'm so used to reading my own work out loud. I mean, you guys remember when we were in Write Away together, like that's just what you did. You wrote things, you read them out loud, you didn't really worry about it. It wasn't a big deal. I had not practiced reading this one out loud beforehand or anything, why would I? I'm not used to doing that. And I kind of wish I had because when I read it out loud, it was the first time I had read it out loud, and I cried the entire time that I was reading it out loud. Because I completely failed to take into account my own emotional response to what I wrote. So I thought I'd read it to you guys now. You can just end the video here if you don't want to hear it. It's called The Background Sounds. Silence is not the most appealing of sounds. I can never sit well in silence. The first moment I get, I disturb silence. I open my mornings with putting on the kettle, and then I head to my laptop and play something off of YouTube. Politically charged comedy, pretty aesthetic videos, ambient noises, so I can begin the business of going about my day. I will do anything to avoid the silence of my own home. I have watched entire series in the span of a few weeks in my efforts to simply hear the sounds of others' lives going on in the background. If all else fails, I strain my ears for the sounds of birdsong outside my window. It's the birdsong that always gets me. One of my favorite ambient background tracks is of a morning in Tuscany, and it includes birdsong. I play this one in the mornings and have never given a thought to its war with the birds of real time. I have my own real-life ambient track drifting in through the window panes, but I block it out because it isn't about sound versus silence. I do not know what silence sounds like. I have never heard it. The moment the sounds turn off, the moment the TV is muted, the playlist is finished, the ambient track comes to an end, and I am left with only myself and the birdsong, it is myself that reigns. In that moment, the seconds between a new track playing before I sing my way to the kitchen while a show is on pause, the only things I have are my thoughts. They do not break into the void. They have always been there. They are there to tell me that I am behind on schedule, that I cannot see past a couple months' time, that I do not know in what shape survival will come in the autumn, or if it will come at all. They speak to tell me of my failures, not just the ones I have already committed. They speak to tell me of the skin I cannot escape, of the horizon I can never reach, of the only planet I will ever set my feet upon. They say there is no sound in space. That may be true, but I doubt anyone has heard it. They hear the sounds of engines and conversations, the sounds of their own breath. They may have left this earth, but I'm sure their doubts speak to them up there just as loudly. And the universe is not without its sounds. You can hear leftover radiation from the Big Bang with a sensitive enough antenna to detect its radio waves. It is negative 450 degrees Fahrenheit. It sounds like the ocean. I don't fear silence. Silence is only the opposite of sound. I fear the quiet that surrounds me when I am alone, that knowing reality that tells me I am here and I am awake, and that those states carry consequences I don't want to confront. But in the moments where the sounds become too much and my heart beats too fast and my memories of hunger return, bringing with them both fear and anger, in those moments I draw on my skin to keep from hurting it. Then I take a couple of breaths and listen for the birds. Listen to the stillness of my home. Listen to reality, that cosmic microwave background radiation that is beyond my hearing. I fear being lost in the ocean, but I will be drawn again and again to its shores. The bird song and the waves and the breath, the here-ness, they will not keep me from my fears or my doubts. But when I listen to them, I remember that they are a part of a better reality, one that contains the stars and the depths of the sea. They are not easy to listen to. I only started crying at the end this time. So yeah, depression is a thing that I live with, and I've lived with since I was 12, and had a lot of ups and downs, and grad school is very stressful and has definitely, I think, been the biggest test for me since I lived in Port Angeles. I think the way I've always put it is that every day is a fight with depression, and sometimes I win and sometimes I lose. And I think I've had a lot more losing days than I'm used to since I've been here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, and I'm not saying that I'm in some horrible situation, because I'm not. I've always had a lot of trouble. I don't even know how to explain it. Trouble with what? You remember that time that I was studying abroad in Rome, which was 2 months in Rome of all places, and a month in I started to feel trapped and panicky, and I started taking to just standing near the window at nighttime, staring up at the sky, and feeling like this planet was suffocating. And like a year ago, I don't think I was gonna put it in my video a year ago when I was visiting Philadelphia before moving here, and I decided not to, I think, if I remember correctly, because I didn't want it to be like too, I don't know, dramatic or something. But I remember just when I was here, you know, and I was in this like other city, a city I had never been to, and I remember feeling suffocating once again. This idea of like the skin that I have now, the body that I have now, the life that I have now is the only one that I will ever have. I will never experience a different memory in childhood or something. I will never have grown up in a different house. I will never have a different path to go down. You know, you just get like a handful of decades and that's all you get. I'm not complaining. I'm just, this is how my mind works sometimes, and it gets very intense. Since I have moved here as well, I've been trying to be more open about how I feel, which I had started to do when I was in Seattle, because that was when I started counseling. And Missy, our friend Missy, was actually the first person that I told that I was seeing counseling. I think she was the first person that like said to me like in person that like we should be more open about these things and we shouldn't, you know, place a stigma on them and on mental illness. So I decided to start talking about it more, not just for my own benefit, but for other people as well, so that other people might hopefully feel okay to talk about it, okay to get help when they need it. You know, some days are fine, and I get things done, and I try not to hate myself, and I say, yeah, you didn't get everything that you wanted to get done, but look at what you did get done, and that's really great, because there's only so much time in the day, and you have so many things to do. And then some days I become overwhelmed by something, you know, whether it's past events or stress or exhaustion, because I'm so tired so much of the time, you know, or whatever difficulty with just living as is. I had that one really bad yesterday. I had to walk out of my office and like pace in the halls so that my office mate wouldn't know. You know, and sometimes I just start crying. Sometimes in class. That was actually just the one time, I promise. It was an interesting experience. I had like no control over my own body. I just like could not stop crying, and I just kept like apologizing over and over again, and my professor was like, we have 3 hours, like take your time. It was kind of funny. It's not that things are bad. I'm actually, you know, I'm about to finish my second semester. I'm going to be part of the graduate student organization in the fall. I'm actually part of like a film series organization here right now. We're about to finish up next week with our series of adaptations. I'm going to be the chair of this like specific undergraduate award next year. I think that's always the hardest part for people to understand when you talk about being depressed, and like that there's like a difference between like what's going on in your life and then like what's going on in your brain sometimes. So I don't know if either of you can relate, or if I've just seemed like a concerned or concerning mess on camera with bad quality. I kind of like the coloring though back here. It's almost like, because it's like a white wall and a gray couch, but it's almost got some like blues or something and greens. Light is such an interesting thing. Anyway, see you guys. Bye.